Hey there, we're live. Welcome to Super Chat Fridays, wherever you are. I hope you're well. I hope you're safe. If it's early morning for you, like it is for Michael, good morning to you. And if you're here in Europe, Middle East, Africa, hope your afternoon is going well. And of course, good evening in Asia and APAC. How's everybody doing? Come in the comments, say hi. As you can see, I have someone special with me today. And we're going to talk about all things recruitment and job seeking and the love. I mean, hate is a strong word, but that, and love is also a strong word, let's be honest. But that special relationship, let's call it, between job seekers and recruiters and everything in between. And Michael is honestly one of the best people I can think of to talk about this, because Michael has both familiarity with both sides really well. He's a candidate experience champion, and of course done lots of recruitment in his career so far. So I want to say, first of all, it's a very early morning for Michael. It's 7 a.m. He's been up since
Well,
5
let's
a.m.
okay. So 7 a.m. I'm up by generally 7 a.m.
Yeah, but
So it's
still,
not that early.
I want to say thank you, Michael, and I want a lot of little applauses and little likes and hearts for Michael, because he's been up for a while, getting ready for us. So that's the least way we can show our appreciation. Thank you so much, Michael, for being with us today.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me, Samel.
Awesome, awesome, great. So, Michael, before we get started, quickly going to shout out and see who's coming to say hello. Hi, Aditi, Ashish Mahajan, Jakar, Naveen. Hey, Jack, good to see you, buddy. Fabulous. Books in the Middle East, lovely to have you here. And so, Michael, before we get started, would love a little, Risto's the friend in Finland, would love a little introduction, a little bit about you for those who are not familiar with you.
Sure. So good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're watching from. My name is Michael Goldberg, and I've been called the recruiter therapist. So I provide recruiter therapy when they're down. But basically, what I do is I help companies that are starting out in their recruiting function, or they have an established recruiting function, but it really needs some work. It needs some turnaround work, and that's where I come in. And I help those companies become more productive in their recruiting. And so, got 20 years of recruiting experience, and then another 10 years behind that in HR. So I've done both sides of the fence, but really in the early 2000s, I just decided that I wanted to focus on recruiting. It's what I enjoyed the most, because it was almost like you were putting pieces of the puzzle together,
Yeah.
right? And so, and you're bringing people there. You're putting the pieces of the puzzle together, because there's so many different aspects to those pieces,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I've been in recruiting and talent acquisition, whatever you want to call it, ever since. And then the last couple of years, I've been running my own business. It's called Hiring Transformed, and been doing the stuff I said I've been working on, and good stuff. And so I've just decided really to kind of focus in on being a champion for candidate experience. While there are the candidate experience awards that are presented by the Talent Board, North America just held their conference the last couple of days. So congratulations to the North American winners, and I think EMEA comes next, and then APAC. So these are, but normally these are the medium to large companies that have that ability, right, to take care of their clients. But we could certainly, I've personally been through some some good experiences and some bad experiences, which I'm happy to kind of share. I won't share the company, but it's just important to me, because I've just seen way too many people this year since COVID took over. I've just seen way too many candidates, pardon me, get the shaft. I mean, it's just it sucks.
Yeah.
But you got to understand, there's two sides to the story,
Yeah,
right?
which is why you are here with us today. Which is why
Right.
you're here with us today. So
Absolutely.
so all of you who guys, if you're watching and you're a job seeker, so Damini, Gandharv, Jagar, hey Rajiv, so Mading, you know, um, Michael said therapist. So think of this as a little therapy session. Candidate side, recruiter side. Michael's here. Get your cup of tea, coffee, whatever it is. Michael, morning for you. I'm getting your caffeinated. I've got my water. Let's get started before we get into the deep stuff, I want to talk about a real case, right? We talked. I posted it yesterday. Um, no, actually, I posted this morning for you. It's
Right.
morning about a real life case, and there's so many people who will be able to relate with it. And I'm just gonna share my screen for a second because I don't even want to just say what happened to the case. I really need the people who are here with us today. I want you to listen to it and understand because it's not a joke. And this is coming from an article that was. Can you see my screen, Michael?
Yeah, it's all good. And
Uh,
Jack's actually on. He's
Jack's
in.
on. So yeah, I said hi, Jack. So Jack wrote Jack Kelly in the comments, guys. He was the one who wrote this article in Forbes and about this lady. So Lisa Smith, 1 week ago. This is real. This is not fictitious stuff. 6 months unemployed, 500 applications, 87 interviews, zero offers, 1 week until we lose our home. Things have been said and done. Hiring manager, concerned about you not fitting in. You talk different than anyone else. She heard this after driving 2,000 miles. So for those of us in Europe, 2,000 miles is way more in kilometers. Good Lord. To an interview just to find out the hiring manager had changed and she'd never spoken to her. While I look at your resume, I haven't seen it yet. You actually don't have the experience we're looking for. Thanks for applying, but we've chosen another candidate. Have a beautiful rest. Oh my God, that really is like a slap in the face. Beautiful rest of your week. I don't know why they went with the other candidate. They just liked her better. I'm sorry for calling late. Do you have time to talk now? So, phone interview from the car where it was so loud. Oh goodness! I mean, all her examples. She's probably in tears. And in losing your house, guys. Can you imagine what it's like? I'm never in all my, and this is a recruiter, by the way. In all my years of recruiting or job searches, never seen such horrible, rude, inconsiderate behavior. Please read the resume. Value my time. Value our time. Make time to speak to the candidate and be present. Stop saying you only need some nonsense and then you hire like a bachelor's and then you go ahead and hire a master's. Please learn what is emotional intelligence and please stop ghosting. Amen. So obviously I know, Michael, there's two sides to everything, but let's start with the there's good, the bad, the ugly. Let's start with the ugly and then hopefully we'll end on a slightly more positive note with some actions on what we can do. What do you say to this, Michael?
I'm not surprised. I've actually heard people on the phone crying to me about these particular experiences. I have been ghosted plenty of times, even as recently earlier this year before I really said, all right, because I was looking at a few jobs. It's unacceptable. And thank you, Jack Kelly, for putting it out there in Forbes, because what it really does is it just shows you how much recruiters are lazy. They don't want that while their good intention is somewhere in the back up here, they tend to forget about it. And she's dead on with the emotional intelligence. Anyone that doesn't have a high emotional intelligence shouldn't be in recruiting, shouldn't be in HR, period. Right? Because having that high emotional intelligence, not to make it all about EI, but it's how we register to a situation and how empathetic and sympathetic and caring. And that's what it's all about. And obviously, this person drove 2,000 miles. First, why didn't the company offer to fly her there? Number two, why didn't the hiring manager? And it sits with the hiring manager just as it does as much with the recruiter to review the resume.
And can we also remember, it's kind of stating the obvious, we're in the middle of a global pandemic. To be, and just to go all this way, to be told it's actually a video call.
Yes. So what's really interesting is the talent board who does these candidate experience awards. They do a report. The report's being written up for 2020 now, but in 2019, this is a year ago, 2019, the number 87% of the survey participants said that candidate experience was going to be their number one priority in 2020.
Pardon me for rolling my eyes.
No, but that just goes to show you. I agree with you. I would have thought the recruiting and HR community would have been more sympathetic
Mm.
and empathetic to the situation. And this was the time to raise that bar because candidate experience awards were brought in 10 years ago because there's been a problem with candidate experience for longer than 10 years, right? So 60 companies are selected, here in the US. And that's great and all. And I support the folks that do that. But why aren't other people, the smaller companies, why aren't they doing things to get on that list? Why aren't
Yeah.
they?
Yeah.
And so what to me, what it really boils down to is just caring and
Yeah.
giving a what just for
Yeah.
just for
Yeah.
just for 5 minutes when someone calls you or emails you, just to pick up the phone.
Yeah.
But when you talk about candidate experience, you're talking about from the time you see the job posting to your onboarding and receiving your first paycheck experience. That's the candidate experience, at least in my eyes. Most
Sorry,
recruiters.
repeat that, Michael. From the time that you
So
see the
from
job.
the time that I'm creating the job posting and I'm putting it out there,
Yeah.
so from talent attraction
Yeah.
so I get candidates to apply for the position,
Yeah.
I take it to the time they receive their first paycheck. So when I was in corporate, that's what we used to do. We used to follow through all the way until they received their corporate paycheck or first paycheck. But then along the way, we would have these just check-ins after a month and 3 months to say, "Hey, how are things going? Is the job description and the job discussion that you had in your interview matching what you're doing today, or is it different?"
Yeah.
Right. And if it was different, then we'd have to find out, all right, well, what's going on? And then go back to the managers. But really, it's the short apply process. What makes sense is create candidate touch points along the way, and you'll make your lives so much easier.
Yeah, and honestly, it's not that hard. And I'll come to that in a second because I have little bit, not a lot like you, but little bit experience. But it's very obvious, Michael, when you said it. First of all, anyone who's watching today, you guys, it doesn't matter which country you are in. This is not a US thing. This is not a Europe thing. This is not Asia. This is global. And it has a little bit to do with lack of empathy. I have a job today. I don't really need to worry so much or give a little, a hoot about what's going on with the other person. Clearly, like Lee says, they lied when they said they care about candidate experience. It's done. Yeah, you got caught. You lied. And I also want to say this, and I was going to say that he brought it up. It takes a lot of courage because some companies might say, "Oh, stay away from her," whatever. She's spoken her truth, and if you speak up when something is wrong, that's the right thing to do, right? There's no like, no, just look the other way. Everyone looks the other way, so you're obviously doing the right thing. It does take courage. Lee, I connected with her. She immediately accepted, and I was like, oh, do whatever I can to help you. But like Jack has written in the article, if this were a movie, like somebody would have just flown in and given her the job and everything would be like happily ever after. That hasn't happened because this is the real world.
And I think it's happening more today. And this is why I've become very passionate, because when I had to pivot from my consulting business to the career coaching and job seeking business back in April, I got to hear all the stories, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I mean, one story I had is I went through starting last August through January. This is the time it took for them to make their decision. I had gone through at least 15 interviews. I pretty much was told that I was the candidate. And then in January, before all this crazy stuff started to happen, they told me, "Oh, well, yeah, we found someone that had more of the talent management and talent acquisition." I go, "What was the position you were looking for?" "We were looking for a VP of talent acquisition." I go, "Did you even ask me about my talent management experience?" No. So
What is that telling you, Michael? What is that telling you?
Well, here's what it tells me, right? It tells me that they didn't really know what they were looking for, number one. Number two, they were a service-based industry doing collision repair. So I actually went to their competitor to get when I had a tree branch fallen on my car, and I took it to the competitor. And that's what people aren't paying attention to.
Yes.
Is when you mess up that candidate experience,
yes,
they just they just lost $1,500 in my business. That starts adding up.
Yeah. No, I just want to repeat that. Michael has a bad experience with a company. I'm guessing it has something to do with insurance. A tree falls on your car. You never went to them. You went to their competitor. And that is what is happening with us. We don't forget. And we all know this, when you have a bad experience, you will tell 9 other people. So it's not just you. And it's funny to me, Michael, because when I was much younger, I was at GE and back in India, and candidate experience was a big deal. Firstly, if it's not measured, it's not managed, right? And secondly, it was also a motivational thing. Oh, you want to get a green belt project in Six Sigma? My experience was my project was related to candidate experience. It was win-win. Like, get something out of it, but also at the end of the day, how long has this candidate been waiting? The whole thing was walk in to walk out. Everything in between. You don't need big pockets. You don't need deep pockets to have a project like that. You don't need a deep pocket to care.
It comes from, everybody can see
heart.
it comes from right here.
There's something about it, right? We're all human beings, but being human being and being human are not the same, apparently.
Well, and also, if you think about it, look, the old adage, is that the word? Treat others as you want to be treated, right? What's interesting is that a lot of the clients that I talk to, they don't think they have a candidate experience problem. What? Right. Okay. Well, what's real interesting, and in fact, I challenge the viewers of this call to not in the chat, but to IM me companies where you've had bad experiences. Because what I'm doing is I'm getting ready to launch and I've actually launched it because I've assigned my first client, whereby I'm taking over the concierge service. Think of it as concierge services for the candidate experience. So working with companies, they give me access into their HR, their applicant tracking system, and basically I'm going to be the voice of the organization, helping and calling these people, finding out what's letting them know where they are in process, right? So I'm working on some technology to see, is there something that can be built to sit on top of those applicant tracking systems? But for right now, it's just going to be a concierge service that I offer as a part of Hiring Transformed, and signed my first client. We're starting and getting excited about it.
Good for you. First of all, I want to say brilliant. Lee's read my mind, brilliant, because there's an opportunity. And it strikes me as very funny. And I'm going to go into the comments because there's some interesting comments in there. It strikes me as funny, funny as in strange funny, Michael, but also haha funny. It strikes me as funny in the sense that it's a business opportunity when the whole world is speaking bad things about a profession. It is so easy to stand out. It is so easy to stand out. You do one good thing and the world is going to be like social media. But very few are doing that. Really doing it like it matters.
Candidate experience is low-hanging fruit. And any leader that doesn't recognize that, it's number one, they shouldn't be in the business if they don't recognize that. Number two is it's what we bring to the table that's just so easy. It's just, if someone calls you, call them back. If someone emails you, it'll take you 10 seconds to email them back, even if you don't have an update for them.
Okay. I'm going to get into a little bit on the other side now. Let's see. So Gandharv is saying, could this possibly mean that hiring managers are bombarded with more applications than usual? Hence, they've not, step back from taking the... Yes, Gandharv, but I also say it, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. COVID is not an excuse for bad behavior. It's just not. If it means you got a lot of applications, that's a good problem to have. Yes, I know it's too much, but then you have the systems in place. Hire more recruiters. In fact, you're job creating. I mean, it's win-win. But I don't know what you have to say about that, Michael. Yes, we do know it's insane. Or anybody who's a recruiter in the audience right now, feel free to jump in and tell me I'm wrong. Happy to have a healthy discussion on it.
Well, yeah. So here's what I'll say on it first, and yeah, they are bombarded. But here's where, and I'm right. Even the recruiters are bombarded. So let's talk about the recruiters. Are just they're a lot of them are what we call order takers. They're not consultative. They don't really understand the positions that they're hiring for. They don't understand the overall business. And how these positions play a role, so that if I'm a recruiter, I need to be able to explain that to people. That's a part of candidate experience, right?
Yes.
But to your point is, yes, we've got, like, here in the U.S., there was another 742,000 claims of unemployment this week, right? So everything's going back up again. People are afraid to close the country down because the service industry will go away.
Yeah.
But when it comes to making excuses, there's no excuse for poor service. So my background, I came from Marriott. So after I graduated from college, I grew up through the Marriott ranks, right? Helped do some pretty cool stuff with them, was a part of a lot of their leading edge stuff, which is now their repeat guest program. I helped open up the first hotel. I mean, it was great. It was a great environment. And people were there for one another and always helped one another. But what they instilled in me was this: is you take care of the customer, and the customer's going to take care of you.
Yeah.
Right? So, because they're going to come back for more. So, and they're going to recommend people to your organization. Why? Because they had a great recruiting experience. They had a great candidate experience.
Yeah.
But when you muck it up like that, especially in Lisa Smith's situation, look, you never want to bring people down the hard way. But I'm sorry, you got to show them some tough love. I'd love to know the company that did that to her.
She was very classy.
Yeah.
She didn't take the name. It takes one screenshot of a bad message for a company and the entire stock price to go down the toilet, right? So she didn't do that. People don't realize how risky it is. And what you just said. Definitely, Rajiv, it's company culture and it comes from the top. We all know that. Candidate experience is linked to identifying metrics. Yes, it's all about measuring. I don't know. Is it hard? People don't want to do it. It's laziness. I don't know, whatever it is. Hey to Amber, she's in Philadelphia. Michael, she says businesses forget the candidates are also consumers. That's exactly right. That's exactly what happened with Michael. He's a consumer of that insurance company. And bad reviews, Glassdoor. I have to say to Wanda, and I'm sure you agree, Michael, as well, there is a little bit of vanity in there. Oh, nobody reads Glassdoor. Oh, forget about it.
No, you need to take those fairly seriously. And look, there's some disgruntled employees that are on there, excuse me, that are venting out. But read between the lines and look at what other people are saying. There's good and there's bad. And look at other websites, other review sites. The Vault. There's like 1,000 of them. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah.
So you should totally do that.
Yeah. And Books is saying very often the interview panel doesn't even have in-depth knowledge of the position and the interview candidates for. You would think they have this covered. They know how to talk to people. They know how to ask questions. Let's not even go to the illegal questions.
I mean, candidate. So here's what people forget is that if you're a recruiter and you're a hiring manager and you really don't know what you're looking for in somebody, it's going to reflect in that experience. The candidate's going to ask you a question. You may not have that answer. And that's okay if you don't have the answer, but you need to assure them that you're going to get back to them.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think Tawanda says it best here in her last. You can have the best recruitment systems. However, if the organization does not value candidate experience, they'll continue to leak potential talent. It's so true.
Yeah,
It's so
nepotism, favoritism. Oh yeah, this is across cultures. It's so fun. It's so sad. Think about going through the marathon interviews and you're one of the top three and you're passed over because of it's not even that. You know, Tawanda, let's say there's an internal thing that happens, and we all know politics is rubbish, right? It happens. Somebody was disgruntled, they wanted to leave. You want to make them happy, you make them stay at the cost of an external hire. It has happened. It's okay. Then say so. Don't ghost them because it's a no, it's a no.
right.
Yes, it feels horrible, but we move on. But you keep us hanging like that, and that's a big problem that people have. That you keep me hanging. So Mohammed, stick around. You'll definitely get some advice towards the second half, where we're going to talk about what candidates are doing wrong, right? And stick around for that. So Damini says she wants to share something here, and people are taking the time. Really appreciate you guys being here. You're taking the time to share your experiences. Somebody in her family, excellent power, I'm guessing business intelligence, I'm not sure, with
Mhm.
incredible communication and managerial skills. He was interviewed by one of the big e-commerce giants. You can guess the name. Yes, maybe it starts with an A and ends with an N. He had 6 rounds of interviews and all rounds went really well. He didn't get through, and this rejection was pretty hard on him. But the worst part was the company did not bother to give literally a one-line feedback on what went wrong. Oh gosh, so Damini, if I had a nickel for like, I'd have a lot of nickels if I knew how many times this has happened. It is internal culture, Niyaz. There's a breakdown, so we all know there's a problem, right? So if anybody who's watching, who first of all, I like that you're being very civil. I thought this would be a little, it can get a little ugly sometimes. I like that you're being very patient. We know there's a problem, and you're being very sympathetic also to the side of the recruiter. It's not a great time to be a recruiter, but having said that, what, according to you, what needs to be done here, Michael, and by whom?
What needs to be done by
Let's start
Jobseekers or
with
by the
let's start with recruiters very briefly because I think more people would be interested on what
yeah,
we.
what needs to be done is recruiters need to really do some surveying and not just written surveys but phone surveys, and that's a part of what my business does. So we need to be reaching out to the candidates who were hired and who weren't hired, understanding that what went well at each step of the process, and then make recommended changes. The first three things off the bat is the first one's easy. It's common courtesy. Call somebody back, email somebody back, text somebody back if they do one of those three things. Let them know where they are in the process, even though they may not have an update.
Okay.
Create communication touch points throughout your entire process, making sure a good recruiter is one that will never get a question from a hiring manager or from a candidate going, "What's the status?" A good recruiter will always stay ahead of both of those clients to ensure that they're in the know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anything else?
I would say the next thing is, uh, you know, make changes to your process. Do what you say you're going to do. Stick to it.
Follow
Don't
through.
don't just try to get better for a few days and then go back to old habits. That's not going to do you any good.
Yeah.
It'll only hurt you. But just do it. Know that it's going to take a little bit to turn that ship around. Don't expect immediate results.
Yeah.
But I do understand that it is, the recruiting teams and the HR teams are leaning on the fact that they're just a lot busier now because they have less people to do the job. Then outsource it and find people to help you, like myself or somebody that can help you do that.
Yeah,
Especially on the candidate experience side.
exactly. You can't. For me, that one is not negotiable. So if you're gonna skimp on anything, don't skimp on candidate experience, right?
Exactly.
It's so visible. Great. Ira, if you're just starting out and you haven't done any formal interviews, yeah, we're going to talk about it. The one thing I will say, Ira, you're younger and you're new to this, just go prepared. Go prepared. Practice, practice, practice. Don't be like, I'll wing it and I'll figure it out. There's an art and a science to it. I have lots of videos on my YouTube channel, and lots of other people have great content. Jack Kelly, who's on this, I'm not sure if he's still watching, but Jack Kelly writes tons of articles on Forbes. So just read. You've got tons of free tips and tricks. See what works for you. Take it. If it doesn't work for you, throw it in the trash. Doesn't matter. But it's a learning process. It's not a one and done. It's nonstop.
Yeah, no doubt. So, the other thing recruiters can do um, is prepare your candidates to be successful. You've worked hard to source them and talk to them. You spent time with them. So if you really think they're a good candidate, invest in their success. With every candidate that goes to any type of interview, they get, if they're interviewing through my company with any one of my clients, I'm giving them a full interview prep packet. They have it. This is who you're interviewing with. Here's your LinkedIn profiles. Here's the questions you need to anticipate. Here are the things you need to do the night before. Here's the things you need to do the day of.
Yeah.
Right? Those are the kind of things that are super important. So when Ira said she hasn't given a formal interview, does that mean she's a hiring manager? She hasn't done, was she looking for advice there?
Yeah, 1 second. I'm gonna let you finish because I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're fine. So basically, that's just stepping up. Just step up and provide tools so that the hiring manager can be successful in his or her interview, and the candidate can be successful in his or her as the interviewee, right? Because my hiring managers, they get questions. I give them questions. I give them write-ups about the candidates. They have all the information. They're right there in front of them. So for somebody that says, I didn't read your resume, so if there's any hiring managers out here,
exactly, that is not an excuse.
That's terrible. That's just terrible.
It's like you're coming to the exam, you didn't study because you didn't have the book with you. Go home.
Right.
This teenage, irresponsible. Even teenagers are slightly more responsible. So it's unacceptable. I want to quickly go in because I'm really glad you guys are here and watching this, because if you're gonna make mistakes or do something you're not sure, don't worry. This is a safe space. Nobody's judging here. We're not like hiring you right now. Obviously, you're not even visible, but come in and say hi. I'm so sorry I can't see your name because there's something in your LinkedIn privacy settings. I had 5 interviews with a lady who always gave me no information about the question, how much do you pay? I have an opinion there, and I'm sure you do as well, Michael. She always said because of Corona, they can't figure it out. I strongly suspect that HR recruitment will take advantage of this pandemic. Maybe not. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know what that means. I don't think that HR. I think what he means is taking advantage and using COVID as an excuse.
Yeah.
Right. Using COVID as an excuse
to underpay. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not just to underpay, but that's not just don't throw that just on HR.
Yeah.
That's the C-level making those decisions too.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're in California and you're working for a Facebook or a LinkedIn or a Google or any one of the millions of companies out there, and you live in, let's say, Texas, you're going to get paid on Texas rate. You're not going to get paid the California comp, right? Because you don't live in California. You live in Texas. If you live in Georgia, you're going to get paid Georgia comp. You're not going to get paid the higher rate. You're going to get paid what the fair market value is.
Cost of living. Yeah.
Are companies bringing down or being a little more selective in their salaries and not being as fruitful as they once were because our unemployment's at whatever it is, at 7 or 8%, 9%? It's probably more like 15. Yeah, sure they are. They're taking advantage of it. And technically, for those of you who aren't working, they've got leverage over you. So and unfortunately, that's a part of it. The other part of the poor candidate experience is they're making these poor candidates jump through so many hoops, business cases, tests, and they're doing it even before the interview process. And I'm thinking, like, how is that an introduction to the company? If I can't talk to the recruiter, you're going to send me to do a Wonderlic or something crazy like that. Predictive index, you're going to make me do that before I talk to you, then you're purely using that tool as a hiring decision. And it's supposed to be a tool. It's supposed to be one of many tools. The answers to the interview questions and the interaction and the bringing together of values and strengths and culture those are the kind of things that you need to be looking for.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Absolutely.
don't yeah.
Yeah,
Don't make it.
not entirely in agreement with you as well, LinkedIn user, but you know where we're going with this. Obviously, take everything with a pinch of salt. There's a book recommendation here by Risto, The Hidden Game of Organizations. Yes, Niaz, you're right. Recruiters work for their clients. So in the buyer's market, what is their incentive to provide good service to candidates, other than what we spoke about, which is the employer value proposition and the reputation of the company and all of that stuff? Anything to add there?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think you not only you're going to have well, it is a buyer's market, right? Well, it's really more of a seller's market. The buyer is the job seeker in my eyes. It's always been the job seeker in my eyes. So the seller is the company. So it's a seller's market. And what they've decided to do is lower the compensation rates. You're not going to be able to mess with that. And also recruiters work for agency recruiters, the third party recruiters that work for other companies to do their outsourced recruiting. Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't, the people go, well, do you know any recruiters I can call? Okay, what are you going to do when you call them? Ask them if they have any jobs? No, that's not how you do it. That's not how you do it.
Yeah, in some places they work for themselves, and some places they're obviously employed by an agency.
Right. I think it'd be interesting to know from the audience here, have you had a bad experience with an agency recruiter or a corporate recruiter? More of the bad press that I've seen has been so on the agency recruiter, but the corporate side is now starting to rear its ugly head. But bottom line is that those recruiters aren't going to talk to you unless they have a position that matches your background and your background matches what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Because they treated it not as a service, but as a transaction.
Yeah.
This is human capital, people. This isn't a mouse or a Yeti or anything like that.
100%. And Paula,
This is a person. This is a person.
It's a human being, absolutely. And like you said, the candidate also drives the process and qualify that recruiter or hiring manager. Oh, Jack is still here. Good to know. Hey, Satish. Satish, there's a lot of guidelines and advisories for candidates for every step of the recruitment process, from writing your CV, how to make a splash when you join a new job. I haven't seen or read much regarding code of conduct or acceptable norms for recruiters. Maybe that's the problem, Satish. As the global HR industry comes with a gold standard yet, I haven't, and it's not that I know of.
Unfortunately, not, Satish. No, there's no. But I will tell you what I did when I was working at Freeman and American Heart Association is we had a candidate bill of rights, and we published that candidate bill of rights on our careers page, and people held us to it. Right. And so, but what it did was it put me and my team out there is, hey, we're going to take care of you. Yeah. You're not going to have a bad experience.
And it's public. When it's public, then obviously there's a little bit more accountability as well. And obviously, Lee is a recruiter and she represents very, very good people. Be very careful who represents you because there's lots of recruiters right now. You do have some sort of a choice. Thank you, Jack. Glad you're here. You can back out of the interview process at any point and go directly, to the hiring managers if you need to. And yeah, you're always learning in this process. Don't be hard on yourself. It takes lots of time, lots of experience. And I do agree with you, Gandharv. There used to be tax turnaround time in GE, we used to call it, which is why it was a lot more smooth, right? I'm not saying it was perfect. I don't think it's ever perfect, but it was a lot better than I've seen it in other companies because it's measured and it's taken seriously and it's transparent.
Well, and I like the fact that he talked about the Clifton Strength Finder. So I'm also certified in UMAP, which takes the top 5 strengths, your skills and values, and looks at the whole person there, right? Yeah, the Clifton Strengths is, for those of you who don't know it, is you just go to gallup.com and you can go to their store. And it's something that every organization needs to be using as a part of their hiring process. And it doesn't take that long either.
Absolutely. Which one is a discrimination tactic? I don't remember, Lee, which one you're talking about. And lots of interesting stuff, right? Because there's also power games, etc. So we have lots of ideas here. I just wish more recruiters who are in the decision making, particularly at the very senior level, were attending this today. it's not
Right.
it's not like Michael. It's not like they don't know. Let's be honest, right? And I'm sure they've heard enough. Unless they're living under a rock, they know what's going on. They do hear it. It's a question of being brave and being courageous and going out there and saying, "Listen, we messed up. It's not perfect."
Yeah, I don't think you're going to hear that.
It takes so much humility.
No
to say
offense, but you're not going to hear that.
it takes so much humility to say it, and you're gonna look through. For me, this is just from a pure PR point of view, Michael. This is such an opportunity to stand out and be one like an awesome recruiter. The whole world like loves you, just because nobody else is doing this the right way.
Yeah, it takes time. So, Paula Lee said taking tests before meeting with that. Yes, that is.
Yeah.
It is. It could be viewed as discriminatory.
Yeah, bias.
Even as valid as that test may be, that those survey, those things you take may be valid. But you know what? They can be used as a discrimination factor. The other thing to never say, if any recruiters are on here, is never say, well, I'm sorry, we just found someone that was a better fit.
Never say that?
Never say that. Because why do you think that? What do you think that means? Start reading between the lines.
Someone else was a better fit. What does that mean? It means, I don't know, Michael. I'm
think American. You got to think like an American.
Oh, because I'm thinking I'm trying on 2 pairs of shoes. This shoe is fitting better. Are you thinking appearance?
It's generally related to age discrimination, which is very big here in the States. And it's just another reason why I'm moving. I'm just going to move one day and move out of the U.S. just because this whole thing it's crazy. It's crazy.
Overblown?
Yeah, just when COVID's over, I'm coming to Brussels.
Come
to Brussels, right? So, yeah, basically what it is. So, Paul and Sinjoy said they didn't like you for whatever reason. It is. Yeah. It's we found someone younger. We found someone that, or we found someone that it's basically they're a better fit. So they're better at what? How do you justify that? When someone told me that, I called the hiring manager out and said, look, you can't tell me I'm a better fit. I know exactly, because I was over the age of 50 when I interviewed with them. They were a young company. I could see it around the office, right? And those are things to pay attention to. So let's talk about that, right? You gotta have your values aligned to who you want to go work for. If you don't have and if you don't have those values aligned with the values of the company, you're really not going to be happy where you are.
Yeah.
Just because people say go work for the one that begins with A and ends with N, you can say you worked for them, but in the end, I have had lots of people talk about what a horrible recruiting. I had a horrible recruiting experience with them. And they don't work hard. They work hard. They don't work smart. I mean, you could say that about them. I mean, we could go on and on.
If you feel like, okay, now this is where a job seeker will push back. And we're going to come to the job seeker side in 30 seconds. This is where a job seeker will push back and saying, you guys are in a luxurious position. When you need a job, you need to start. You got bills to pay. You got family, mouths to feed, kids schooling, etc. I get that. Just bear in mind, if you get a feeling right from the outset that you're treated like a commodity, not a person, obviously join. You got to do whatever you got to do, but eventually be very mindful of the prices you pay on your mental health. And mental health, is there a price? Yes, there is a price. It's your life.
Exactly.
Just something to keep in mind. But Michael, coming back to what you said, in case we have recruiters watching today, sorry, you're not the right fit. You're saying that's not the best answer. It insinuates all sorts of ugly things under the carpet. What should they say then? Which is
that's a great question. I think the best thing is to be transparent with them. So let's say that the candidate was not as talkative or didn't use detailed examples in their interview responses, right? They didn't. I like to use it. I call it the STAR response:
Yeah.
situation, task, action, result, or
Yeah.
some people call it
Or
PAR,
something.
problem, action,
Problem.
result. Same thing, right? If somebody didn't say that, I'm going to tell them right then, and I'm going to say at the end of the call, I will let them know. And there are some recruiters that do this, not a lot, but we always say just be honest and just say, look, give one example. Hey, when here's some feedback to help you for future interviewing. When someone asks you a question, you want to be as detailed as possible. I had to pry for that, and while your answer came out strong, I had another candidate that they were better prepared for their interview. They answered their questions
I love
right.
that.
That it's constructive feedback.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
love.
you don't say, well, your hair was messy, or I didn't like the shirt you were wearing, or I didn't like the ring in your nose, or the multiple earrings you have in your ears. That's not the things to say.
I love that
Help
you said
them.
that. Yeah. I just want to do a little plug here. So anybody who's watching here, you guys know, you might know, I started a podcast a couple of weeks ago. I just finished editing an episode. It comes out on Monday. This lady is a LinkedIn top voice. She just found out a couple of days ago. She's ecstatic. One of the things she said was, and this is exactly what you said, Michael. Specific. Okay, specificity. Does that work? I'm losing.
Specificity? No, God,
Oh,
now you
you know
did
what
it to me.
I mean?
Specificity.
Specificity. So the devil is in the details, and the angel is also in the details. So go into details, because those are the things that not the situation as much as what you did, right, and the outcomes and all of that stuff.
Right.
So different ways. Be prepared. Ira, you asked this question. Be so prepared that you're like, I know this company and the person interviewing me like the back of my hand, and then you feel a little bit more confident. This was great advice. Uh, as a job seeker, if you're listening, you're like, that's not a great thing for a recruiter to ask me, but this is a better, you're getting very interesting sides to the coin. Jack has become quite active. Michael, do you think that job seekers should go directly to the CEOs and top executives and tell them how badly they've been treated? 'Cause I know some people have done it in tweets and stuff like that, and I have an opinion here, but I wonder what you think, Michael.
I think job seekers can definitely do that, but as long as they're not planning on coming back, because they're burning a bridge, Jack.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, right. It's a very, very fine line.
And the
So,
bridge is with the HR, whoever you tried to overstep in, not, I don't know how to say this.
I've seen it happen. I've totally watched it happen where they totally laid a couple of my recruiters out with an email to the CEO, and next thing you know, I'm called in the SVP of HR's office going, "Hey, what's going on here?" Right? I have no idea what you're talking about. Let me see it. And so you go through it, and there's these nastygrams that the candidates write to the CEOs. I just don't think. I think it's good to let them know. Again, as long as you're not planning on going back. Most people aren't planning. Anybody that emails a CEO or a top executive, they know they're never going to be considered. I mean, it kind of stinks, because what if they're really good for the job, right?
They're not playing the long game, Michael, because the thing with somebody asked me, in fact,
Yeah.
I'm not sure she's watching. She said, can I tweet him? And I strongly advised her against it. Not only this whole, how is it going to look?
What's it going to do? Is it going to make it feel better?
Exactly.
No.
For me personally, it's a cheap tactic. And I'll tell you what, extreme scenario, which is extreme, but let's be honest, COVID is also extreme. Nobody imagined on 31st December 2019 that we'd be in our houses for 9 months, right? Extreme scenario, you try to do something like this, and let's say the CEO says, you're my hiring manager, you're my recruiter, you're not doing your job, you're fired. Okay. Now this recruiter has let's say, this is extreme. Remember, I said that. This recruiter has a mental health problem, right? They go and they find out where you live. They probably have your address. Because of, resume, maybe this is
phone number. They've got everything.
You can have a stalker. You can have a girl with like complete mental health, severe issues. You don't want to do anything that can come and literally bite you in the backside. So personally, Jack, I think you got the answer.
Well, but he retorted back. He said, agreed, but it's a scorched earth approach. If they have nothing to lose, they might as well say, that's true, Jack. But at the end of the day, okay, so they feel good for 10 minutes that they are going to get some, a recruiter that, or an HR person that didn't treat them 100% right. In the end, is that really worth anybody's time? Is it really worth, just because they didn't treat you right, to do two wrongs make a right? No. So, look, unless it was something totally like for the 2,000-mile example for your article, absolutely write the CEO.
Yeah.
Because that is unacceptable.
That's a burnt bridge. That's a burnt bridge, and yet at the same time, you're playing a long game, right? Obviously, you're never going to be in that company again. That company needs to know.
And then Niaz is right. Niaz says, Jack Kelly, not all CEOs are as open-minded as you. Some may get defensive. That's true. Some CEOs do get, and then they don't even consult their HR person, and they write back and they just say, "I'm sorry, I'll make sure you get an interview." You're like, "Oh God, why'd you do that?"
Yeah, yeah. I don't think there's a right answer or wrong answer, Jack. Whoever asked you this question, people should do what feels right to them. But I do think that you got to play the long game. You got to play the long game. And at the end of the day, it's, I remember when I said back in 2009, Michael, I got very good advice. I said no to a company which offered me a very low ball salary. And I said yes to another company and came to Brussels. That company was in Paris. That guy tried really hard. And I said, no, I'm so sorry. This is not going to work in a city like Paris. I can't live in this salary. It was very amicable. And I remember him saying, stay in touch. It's a small world for people of quality. It's a small world for people of quality. So don't do anything that can unnecessarily give you, bad PR.
Yeah, and the one thing I'll say for the recruiters listening to this is if you're going to say, hey, so we didn't get this position this time, but I'm going to hold on to your resume. If you tell somebody then that, and then you don't, and then when they email them back, and this is what happened with the capital A ends with N, is they said, no, you didn't get this, but there's some other positions we're looking at for you. And I'd email the recruiter that I had built a relationship with, and I'd get crickets.
Yeah.
And you're just like, no, this is not the way to do it. So I think in the end, always take the higher road. And know that you don't want to work with this person, work with that company, because, if you've been looking for like Lisa had for the last 6, 7 months, 8 months, some people have been looking for a year. Some people have been looking for closer to 2 years. I do know that, right? I've got a couple of clients that have been looking, and
let's talk about that. Let's talk about the fact that if you're looking for, like Lisa's case, your house is on the line, etc., and all sorts of bad stuff is happening. Mm-hmm. Yes, mental health is important. Totally. You got to hang in there, Gandharv. If things get really bad, you've got to reach out. You've got to talk to people. Don't keep it to yourself. Sorry, quick thing. Grade your hair. I totally know where you're coming from. I'm so sorry I don't have your name here, but do whatever it takes to present your best foot forward. For me, my best foot forward is my grays are covered. I feel more confident. For you, if that is it, do it for you. But if you're doing it because the other person might perceive it, then it's already on the back foot, if you know what I mean. Nobody can tell you what to do. Do whatever makes you feel more confident. Michael, let's talk about what candidates can do, because for me, the way I look at it, it's like, let's say I've been learning basketball for 10 years, and suddenly I'm told that we're actually playing baseball. So the rules have changed. The sport has changed. What is it that candidates can do to not look for 1 year, 2 years, 6 months, 10 months? Because for some, it may not be financially, it just may not be viable.
Well, I think we would be here all day answering that question, right? So it's very different here in the U.S. than it is in other parts of the world, even though we're all fairly much in the same seeing just an incredible spike in cases all across the globe. What's different here, and again, this is just my perspective of the U.S., is that, but I think it does apply all, is that the job candidates they're focused too much on apply for a job, apply for that job, apply for that. Stop applying for jobs and have a plan in place, put a strategy in place, look at your values, analyze your strengths, figure out what your accomplishments are, because those are going to be the crux of your interview question answers when you're asked those questions in either the star or par format. Have your 30-second resume at the ready. Have the be all end all question here in the U.S. I don't know how it is overseas, but the first question U.S. Hiring managers like to ask is, tell me about yourself, right? It's a 2 to 3 minute thing. It is not a 15-minute monologue. You are not Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, Stephen Colbert, or pick your favorite late night TV shows wherever you live.
90-second short, sweet, to the point.
Yes, it should be an overview. And really, the way I do it, how I phrase it is, start with your 30-second resume and then add another minute and a half worth of dialogue and call out who you are and what you do. Right. Yeah. So I think the biggest, but let's talk about what I know they want to talk about, which is establishing relationships with recruiters.
Yeah.
And the first thing that what they can stop doing is stop going to the recruiters that you know of and going, hey, can you help me find a job?
Yeah. No.
You haven't introduced yourself. You just send me your resume and you've asked me a question. I'll respond to that out of kindness to help you. I can't help find you a job. I can help you prepare to find a job. And they don't like that. Some people don't like that because what I'm doing is obviously I'm selling my services, but more importantly, that means they've got to do the work.
Yeah.
And a job search is I don't care how long you've been looking. If you've been looking 30 days, 15 days, or 10 or 2 years, you've got to have a methodical plan in place. It shouldn't be about applying for jobs. It should be about making networking your way to get to your next job. It's all about the network. It is not about applying for a job. You go into the proverbial black hole, never to be seen again, never to hear from people again. And that's a whole nother show that I could talk about.
Yeah, no, we talked a lot about networking on Supercharged Fridays as well. And we say this again and again, stop applying. There's nothing wrong with applying. Okay, hold on. I have a couple of my clients.
No, there's nothing wrong with applying.
Yeah, but applying, like director levels, they've got jobs by applying. But don't wait for them to call you back. Hope is not a strategy. Hope is not going to get you where you want to be. It has to be sort of that multi-portfolio approach, just like it is an investment. You spread yourself and the eggs so that it doesn't like one basket and everything is broken and it's a big mess and it stinks, which is not what we want. Niyaz, length of your resume?
2 pages.
2 pages. I think if it's like 10, 20 years. If it goes more than 20 years experience, it's okay. I mean, I don't have
three max, but I mean, I've seen 10-page resumes. And that is just like, no.
See, your client, with her, we did 4, but it used to be way more. So it was like, at the end of the day, it's about quality, not quantity. You want to be able to not talk about what you did, but what was the impact. So it has to be very, very, very focused on your achievement.
Right. That's where I think the candidates can improve too. They're not marketing focused. So basically what they're doing is they're just spitting out, well, here's what I did at each job. Okay, great. But tell me a story instead. Tell me how you got there. How did you save $500,000? Or how did you increase revenue by $2 million? Walk me through it in your resume, not in a long story. Just give me the bullet points. It's a marketing document. That's what LinkedIn and your resume are. They are marketing documents. They're not going to get you the job. They're going to get people interested in you that you could be contacted for a job.
Yeah, exactly. So now we're on the hour. So when it comes to that love-hate relationship, right? Because I know lovely recruiters who helped me a lot in my life, right? And I have a great relationship, but there are also recruiters who ghosted me. Now, this is not the right time. It's never the right time to just shift the blame outside. Also look within, look in the mirror. Have you ever ghosted a company? Be honest with yourself, okay? It sometimes takes one to know. So do the work. If you're going to reach, first of all, I highly recommend that you follow Michael on LinkedIn. I'll tag him in this live stream. Follow him, follow a lot of his work. He does live streams every day. In fact, he's doing another live stream in a couple of hours. He's a rock star. But when it comes to
No, in 15 minutes I'm doing one, not later.
we're gonna
15
hang
minutes.
right now. So when it comes to like doing the work, you can't have a bad attitude. Like when Michael is the exception, I am the exception. If someone reaches out to me and says, "Hey, Sonal, do you have a job?" Firstly, you didn't do the homework. You don't know I'm self-employed. How can I have a job? I'm not a recruiter. I'm a coach. Secondly, do a little homework on these people, right? You reach out to someone, don't immediately go in for the ask because you haven't established the KLT, the know, like, and trust. Forget the trust. Trust is far away. KL, know and like, there's zero there. So, and if you just want to like, please help me with my CV and you want stuff done for free, there's a lot of free resources out there. But don't have this attitude that somebody is going to have the silver bullet and fix it all for you. Take accountability and do it yourself. I know you're working really hard, but if something isn't working and you're doing it for 6 months or 2 years, change the strategy, change the tactics. There must be a better way. There must be a better way.
So, well, there is a better way, but also be patient. Know that because nobody has the crystal ball to say, hey, we're going to improve, we're going to be in the clear after the U.S. president goes through his inauguration at noon on January 20th. There's nobody. They're saying that COVID here in the United States is going to be present through like March or April, and it's not going to be pretty. Like an average of 2,000 people dying a day. I mean, it is crazy. So nobody knows what this does. So you've got to play the numbers game. And I'm not numbers and applying, it's reach out, bring your connections to life, have conversations like this, jump on podcast. I do a Talk Talent podcast that I'm starting.
Oh,
I want you all I'm looking, and I bring people in from all over the world on my podcast. If you want to be a guest and you want to share your journey and you want some props, you have to be prepared to talk about yourself and have the questions ready. Tell me about yourself and, what are some of the things. So if you're interested, just ping me again on LinkedIn Messenger. Happy to have you on the show. And then if you're a company and you're watching and you need help with candidate experience, no matter where you are,
Michael does great work. And if you're a company looking to sort of outsource, but this is amazing, Michael. I'm going to stay on because I see a few more questions, but I know you have to go to another live stream, so you can.
I'll stay on for a few.
Oh, okay, amazing.
So
Ira had a very specific question. Ira, when it comes to you have this background, but we have a different. Focus on the big thing that starts with T, transferable skills. You've got transferable skills. You learned something in one, and I think Risto already answered it for you. Michael, anything to say here?
Yeah, what I always do is I say, look at the job description that you have in front of you, and basically what you want to do is write down all the skills they're looking for on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side of the paper, write down your skills that you have, that you can confidently say you've done. And see where the gaps are. Don't apply for positions you're not qualified for.
Yeah.
So if it's a technical position, but you haven't done technical yet, but you want experience in technical, then go get that technical. Go talk to people about how to find that technical experience, or find a company that'll invest in you and get you trained in that piece of technology. That's what I would recommend.
Don't waste your time. Don't waste your health. In fact, energy, and then feeling bad later. Don't underestimate mental health by applying to something that you're definitely not qualified for. So, on that note, it's gonna change. Things are gonna get better. You just have to keep working at it, and obviously have the right approach. Surround yourself with the right people. Listen to people like Michael on his live stream. He does it every week as well. In fact, it's like I said, in
Aren't you going to be on my show on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday? Isn't that you? No, I think so.
You told me, Michael, you're booked up till Feb.
Hold on. Wait a minute. I didn't tell you that.
Yeah.
Did I?
Yeah, I don't have anything with you.
Huh. Well, that's sad. Hold on. Let me just make sure. Maybe I told somebody else.
Yeah. It wasn't me, because I did something else on Tuesday.
Okay, so, never mind.
Thanks so much for being here, you guys. Thank you, Jack. Appreciate it. Risto Books, lovely. Ira, everybody who's been here today, Satish, Rajiv, you guys are amazing. Kandar, Take care of yourselves. Be safe. Keep your chin up. Uh, Keep working and reach out if there's anything we can do to help you. And please follow Michael on LinkedIn. Take care, everybody. Wish you a lovely Friday and lovely weekend. Bye.
Bye, everybody.